We're going to start with one big question we get all the time is how do we use the foam roller and how do we work out ITB? Now for those of you who aren't aware of what ITB is, like the rest of the population, don't worry. ITB is actually called iliotibial band, which is far too much of a mouthful, which is why we call it ITB. It's a really thick band of tissue, it's actually fascia, and it runs from over the hip joint and also down the side of the leg across the knee joint as well. It doesn't react like muscle. It takes quite a bit to soften and loosen and can be really quite painful. Foam rollers are fantastic to try and release the ITB off, and Hattie's in a position to show you now how to actually do this. So the one we're actually working on is the bottom leg, so this one just down here, touching the foam roller. So Hattie's laying on her side, she's got the foam roller almost at her hip joint, and she simply just supports her weight at the top and then just rolls through down towards the knee, keeping this bottom leg relaxed the whole time. If you're tense and tight when you're doing this, it's not going to be effective. So keep this bottom leg as relaxed as possible. A couple of little tips for you as well with ITB is that what you find too, if you actually work the outer area and the bottom area of the quad, which is the people call the driver muscle, basically this sort of section down through here. If you work around this area through the front and the outside of the knee basically here, but also has a little muscle up the top here called TFL, really long muscle, don't worry about it. The fact is, once you hit it, you'll feel it. If you release that off as well as the ITB, it'll be much more effective. And they're actually muscular components instead of fascia, which is what we just did with ITB. That's actually fascia, which is a different kind of tissue. Doesn't respond as well. If we work the muscles around it, responds quite well. So I'll get Hallie to show how to actually hit, how to adjust your position to be able to hit almost the quad, so the outside area of the upper leg. So same positioning to start off with as she is here. So leg in front is supporting weight as well as upper body through here. And now what Hallie does is see how she's just rolling slightly forward. So almost exactly the same position as ITB, but just slightly forward. And she's just focusing on that little area on the mat, on the roller, about that much. She's not having to go the whole way along like we did with ITB just before. Really great little trick. So Hallie's now demonstrating how to release the TFL, which is the tensor fasciae lata, which is a small muscle just above the hip and in front just slightly. It helps to release ITB and hip and quad areas. So Hallie's in almost exactly the same position again as ITB, so you can see that everything's very similar here. The only difference being that nasty bone that you'll actually roll up to when you're doing ITB, you're going to go over that. So Hallie's actually got the foam roller set just above that now, and she's rolled slightly forward now as well. So, and it's only a really little area. So Hallie, just show, that's it, perfect. So you can see it doesn't take much to hit this little muscle at all. If you're into cycling, if you're running, you do triathlons, they're probably some major ones where you'll find you might get tightness through the ITB, the thigh, hip area. Release this off if you do get any issues with knees particularly. Anyone who has any issues with knees can find this really beneficial.